Okay, we'll call the meeting to order, and we respectfully acknowledge that we live and work in Mi'kmaq, is steward of the ancestral territory of the Mi'kmaq people, and we are all treaty people. So the agenda, I don't have any changes. I don't know if anybody else does.
I'll move we approve the agenda.
Second. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion's carried. Public input, I'm unaware of any, but that doesn't mean there isn't some. So come on up, state your name, zip the address and all that. We should have yours on record anyway.
Yeah, right. Barry Redmond, 4020 Highway number 3, Chester. Just some observations from last week's meeting. Our present system that guides our overall planning process is flawed and needs change. We can no longer be guided by a set of rules that no longer addresses our changing environment and the infrastructure that needs to move, and the infrastructure needed to move progressively forward. Our present council and planning department are guided by outdated rules that they deem as right because they are written down, and these are our guidelines. We need to be more progressive than that and think outside the box. We need to change outdated guidelines that do not address our changing situation and environment. Contrary to Contravino's degrading remarks as to the ability of the common people to do or want anything other than present status quo, we are not against development. We all know things must change to meet present day demands, and we are for intelligent development that puts infrastructure in place before we put on the roof. To suggest that is only up to such qualified personnel as himself and his like, the so-called experts, that are the only ones capable of making such decisions, would be a joke if it weren't so tragic. Continuously making excuses that it is not our jurisdiction, that it is the jurisdiction of the provincial government or a higher authority, without challenging those flawed set of rules, ties down any meaningful progress or way forward. We have an opportunity to make things better. The same old is not working. We are not willing to put our faith into decision makers that do not have the engineering skills to fix a pothole that lasts for more than 2 days. Yet you expect us to let them guide and direct us into our future. We need to make decisions based on intelligence and not because they tick every box of an outdated set of guidelines.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Barry and I have known each other for 40 years. I think throws off a little bit because none of us, we didn't discuss anything about this. Good morning, Peggy Wilson, 59 Main Street in Chester. I believe the council and the planning department are working for the residents of this village, but sometimes it seems that we don't speak the same language. I thought that we were working on putting together a new progressive plan to govern the village for the next 10 plus years. But so many times during last week's meeting, the question was asked, what do we have in place now? That seems to work. Let's stick to that or build on that. Comments like, we can't ask developers or individuals to put cisterns, catchment systems in place or incorporate new technologies. That would be too expensive. You are writing the framework for the future of this village. You should be thinking about down the road, not right now, and certainly not like it's 2004. We want to be assured that you are working for the residents, not the developers, and committed to preserving this village. Last year, we were told on numerous occasions during the public session that if we had been more engaged in understanding what was in place since 2004, we could have changed things that we are currently unhappy with. like the hotel or the buildings going to be proposed today. If the existing document had been reviewed in a timely manner, as intended within 10 years, not 20, we may have been aware of certain pitfalls. Many residents of this community have been engaged during the past year, but we still have a long way to go. We are asking for consideration to convert Valley Road to R2. We got comments like Valley Road has been the commercial entrance into Chester as long as we can remember. Is that a reason for not to look at the possibility of change? At the public meeting held on this past Monday, Councillor Shatford stated how disappointed he was when he had to approve a project in his district that the community didn't support, i.e. the mobile home park in Hubbards. But because the developer had met the policy requirements set out by the municipality, he had no choice. That is what we are trying to avoid going forward on Valley Road. It has the potential to be a massive problem. We understand that there are commercial businesses on Valley Road, but we are asking that the rest of Valley Road be converted to R2. I've spoken to Garth about this. He says it could be possible by making the existing commercial businesses non-compliant within the R2 zone. Maybe the food bank, the Nova Scotia Power, could move to the highway commercial zone. All I am asking is that you consider taking more than a few minutes to explore the possibilities. There are many parcels of land on Valley Road that over the next few years, if not addressed, could seriously impact the residents in that residential neighborhood. If you cannot see your way forward for this request to change commercial core to R2, then you have to seriously alter what's going to be allowed in the commercial zone. You touched on the bars and restaurant aspect at last week's meeting, but what about the other multi-10-unit buildings? What about commercial places of entertainment, funeral homes? Does that include crematoriums, rental? Not specific as to whether that's light industrial or manufacturing. If it's a coffee shop, can that coffee shop have the ability to roast coffee? That's just to name a few. The outline in the commercial core is loose and the list is long with endless possibilities. And I haven't even touched on the parking or loading zone issues. That's a conversation all on its own. As you are aware, there's a group of individuals that have been actively working many aspects of this plan. We have been trying to do so as the items come up in council meetings. So when the time for the public hearing was set, we thought now was the time to put our cards on the table and have a face-to-face meeting with Councillor Wells in order that he would understand exactly what a large percentage of the village residents were concerned with and looking for his support in regards to the plan. That didn't exactly work out. Councillor Wells stated last week at the meeting that he had no pushback or no contact with the residents on the commercial core zone issues. That's because he wouldn't meet with us, stating that it had been a conflict of interest to meet once the public hearing date was set. This was the time we needed him most. It was the time when we knew exactly what was being put forward to vote on. All we wanted was to have some dialogue around each item we wanted support for. If the conflict of interest rule around meeting constituents after a public hearing date is set, that should really be addressed. We were asking for and expecting representation. We are asking you to please revisit the commercial core aspect of this plan. It is important to us. We do not want to find ourselves in the same place at the next public hearing. We want the right document in place and this process behind us. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak?
Morning, councillors, Lord Bible. I just want to follow through with what was just said.
Brad Armstrong.
Brad Armstrong, 66 Tremont Street, not Heisler. I think Peggy has raised some good points at Barry too. When I watched the meeting last week on the video on YouTube, and we were discussing the core commercial, not one person said anything about parking. Chester has a water problem, but it also has a parking problem. And I know you've done a parking study, which is somewhere, so I'd appreciate it if we start looking at that. But my point is that any new businesses that come on there, bars or restaurants, which I think should just be taken off the list, have no parking. Where are they gonna park? How are you gonna have a business with no parking and taking delivery trucks? We all know what happens when the deliveries come to the Chester Tavern. Queen Street is shut down. Now, if there was a fire emergency or anything there, what do? Parachute in? It's not gonna work. So I would ask that you just leave the commercial businesses that are there perhaps and allow small businesses, but the rest of the residential area should remain residential and be converted to R2. Simply because there's no parking for this. It's just mind-boggling that you would even consider that because, oh, it was there before. Well, this is a new time and era. We want to encourage people to come here, but if you go to Mahone Bay where there's oodles of parking, the place is packed with businesses. You come to Chester, it's just congestion and mayhem. You can barely get to the bank. So you have to address that, either address the parking issue or change some of the core commercial to R2 and leave what's there as businesses now, fine. Leave that there. They've been there, they're established. But to encourage new businesses on a place that has no parking is just nonsensical. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? If not, let's close the public input session and move on to 5.1. Council minutes, July 11th.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion's carried. 5.2, public hearing, Chester Village Planning Strategy Land Use Bylaw. Want to do the minutes from that?
Yeah, we're just looking to approve the minutes.
Yeah.
I'll move we approve the minutes.
Second. Discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion's carried. Proclamations and designations, I'm unaware of any.
Not today.
Okay. Committee of the whole reports, the minutes, there are no motions. Motion to approve.
There's a motion.
Well, it says no motions.
Yeah, no, there's a motion from the direction.
Oh, okay, move second, the council to prepare and give second read? Yeah, okay. So we do need to approve that motion.
Yeah. So moved. You would like the motion
Yes.
in second, so I would move the motion as written.
Second. Discussion?
Yeah, just any changes that maybe have been brought up since then. Is this going forward as is? Are any of those comments, can they be considered? Like I know just regarding the commercial.
This isn't,
So the direction last week from council is probably what you will see come forward. If you want any of the stuff from today, you would need to give us that direction.
Okay.
So what was considered last week was, I believe, remove the commercial from the Duke Street, Water Street.
Yes.
Buffer Valley Road, it was to look at the commercial zone and take out the pieces around, or to address the issues around the bars and the things opening, like those entertainment venues opening late night. That was the direction.
Okay. But not to revert it to
residential.
residential.
Okay.
it didn't go back to public hearing.
Yeah, it'll come back to council, I
And then
believe
go back.
August 8th is still the plan, the next council meeting. If Derek can get all those changes done, it would come back to council. We would need to go through first reading again, and then set a date for another public hearing and advertise.
So it's a long ways from there.
Okay.
So we had to move her, I don't know if we had a second.
I second that motion.
Discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion's carried. Okay. So Recreation and Parks, Councilor Church, and there are some motions there that need to be approved.
Yes, there were just two motions for to help out two participants that through the rec grant. Caitlin Burgess asked for $315 and Dave Walters for $500. They're both going to different championships and the committee approved them, so I would move that we approve the 2 recommendations.
Second. Second. Discussion. All those in favor? Opposed, motion's carried. 7.3, Regional Emergency Management Advisory Committee. I was hoping to have the minutes by today, but we were unable to get them. Yeah, so I don't know if we want to wait until we have the minutes or, yeah, we should, yeah. Okay, so we'll, because it'd be nice to know what they say. Public presentations, I'm unaware of any. Okay. Nine point one, request for decision, corporate strategic management, council committee procedural policy regarding time of meeting, agenda, and format.
Council had approved a motion to change the time to 6 in the evening.
Yes.
But in the actual policy, it doesn't refer to a time. It says, council may by resolution alter the time, day, and place of any meeting previously approved under the policy. So you can leave that as is, or you can change it to set a specific time.
In the policy, yeah.
Yeah.
But the changes, there are a couple of changes, administrator, just housekeeping changes.
Yeah, there were some other ones.
Yeah, there was a couple minor ones, and that's the order of the agenda. So just to add the land acknowledgement and the public input, so the order of the agenda, the general order of the agenda is in the policy, so we should add the land acknowledgement and the public input portion of that. That never got changed. And then the other one was just a typo. So the last section of the policy is section 18, and it says verbal presentations, and then it says deputations. That should say delegations.
Delegations, yeah. Okay, so we need to approve those changes, and on the piece about the time frame, I think we agreed that this council is approving the time change. If the next council changes it again, there's nothing we do it. And that's up to them.
It's the will of the council. So
Yeah.
unless we've got a stated time in there to say 8:45, I wouldn't suggest that we put in 6 because it can be.
It can be altered by anybody, anytime.
It's kind of ridiculous, though, that we're setting that time for the evening. The new council may decide to say, well, we're going to meet during.
I know, but I think the idea was just to let people who want to run know that is where we are at the moment,
Oh, okay.
unless they change their minds.
Yeah, I think that's crucial information.
Just a correction on the motion there. I had asked for a recorded vote and
You didn't get it?
it's wrong.
Where's the motion in here? Is there a motion in the policy?
It says on July 4th, and there was the motion, and it says 1 opposed, 6 in favor, and that's not correct. And I had asked for a recorded vote. I just asked it to be corrected.
That in the original minutes, it just didn't get changed here when you copied it out. But it was, you did mention that when we.
What should be changed?
I was opposed as well, but I didn't ask for a recording.
No, but if one person did, then your opposition should be recorded as well. So we'll make that change, and do we want to approve the other recommendations?
Are we doing them all together or separate? I'm opposed to the one and I won't vote for it, so I guess that's how we're doing it.
Well, we can do everything except for that one.
So the time change is already a motion that's been approved.
Yes.
So what we're looking for is the motion for
The policy.
policy, and there's no time change motion in the
Guys,
policy.
nothing to do with any of that stuff.
Yeah,
So somebody want to move that we approve the recommendations?
Sure, we're just adding pieces that we're already doing.
Yes.
Fine.
Second,
Discussion?
I'd just like to ask, and it's already discussed about the time, right? The starting time is, you're gonna leave that open. Is there any talk about an ending time?
Not anything.
And I'll tell you why. Some of the council meetings in West Hants tend to go till 12 or 1 o'clock in the morning.
Well, that's.
And this is not, and this is from my niece who's thinking about running for council there in the next election. And she's calling me all the time, And she's telling me these meetings, well, I said, Tatum, that's what they do there. And actually, we're in the process of changing that here. And I don't know if we can probably not write that into a policy, but I just
Council can adjourn whenever they want.
well, they can adjourn, yeah. But, you know, if the public's here and, you know, public engagement takes an hour, then once, you know, then we get to our agenda. So I just think we have to think about those things. And again, it's been passed. But that'll be something for the new council to discuss if they want to.
Yeah, and we set times and change them all the time.
All the time, yeah.
I mean, to speak on that, I've been hanging around this place for like 12 years, and the number of times we've gone longer than 3 hours has been maybe a handful. And to my knowledge, we've never gone 6 hours, ever. So I think it's pretty unlikely that we'll be here at midnight.
I think we adjourn and meet again the next day.
Yeah, okay.
When was the last time this council had gone beyond noon?
A few times.
A few times, so that would be 9 o'clock.
Yeah, we've had lunch brought in.
Yeah, it's pretty rare.
It doesn't happen often.
So I
We
think
try to avoid.
the chance of being here at midnight is.
We try to manage the agenda a little better than that. Yeah. So any further discussion on the motion? All those in favor? Oh, motion's carried. Okay, 9.2, Community Development Recreation Bylaw Project, Scope of Work, Housing Accelerator Fund.
Yeah, good morning, Council. So the purpose of the report this morning was to bring forward the scope of work for this project to you, just to make you aware, and if there's any input before we move forward, this is the opportunity for that. So, as everyone knows, we've been working through updating our planning documents, and so back in 2020 we had approved our municipal planning strategy and land use bylaw, and of course we're in the process of doing that for our secondary planning strategy for the village right now. And then, so all along the intent was the next phase of that would be to look at our subdivision bylaw, which is another part of our core planning documents for the municipality. And so, so the plan is to continue to move forward with that, and then of course the Housing Accelerator Fund came along, and we were able to incorporate that into that funding, and so we received that, and so that just is another element of kind of moving forward with the subdivision bylaw review. And so there's 3 documents really that kind of work hand in hand with each other, and that is the subdivision bylaw, the municipal specs, and the sewer bylaw. And so it really makes sense to do all 3 of those at the same time, just because of how interrelated they are. And so that's the intent for this project, is to move forward with all 3 of those, all 3 of those documents, and to have them updated. So the scope of work is included there in the discussion section. There's a few things that I'll just bring your attention to, which I think is important. One of those things that we will want our consultant to do is to look at the current challenges and issues that we've been facing, or things that have changed since the subdivision bylaw was created. And so there's some of those factors, like we know from our experience, not our experience, but in the province last year, was with the fires, that there's a real interest in communities for those secondary access points, for those emergency situations. So those are the types of things that we would be looking to have the consultants really pay attention to and look at and address for an updated version. Other things like active transportation. So in 2020, we weren't talking about active transportation quite as much as we are now, and the whole idea of walkable communities and those kinds of things. So those are the kind of things that we want to make sure that are incorporated into our upcoming documents. As well, one of the issues that we want to have addressed is our open space. So over the years, we have been in a position where we've been required to accept parcels of land that have been given to us through the open space, and sometimes it's like we didn't really want them, but they met the criteria, and so we're kind of in the position where we were required to accept them. So we would like to make those changes so that if we're that the emphasis is on the cash as opposed to the land, unless the land meets a more higher stringent criteria, and it's actually would be a parcel of land that we'd be interested in. So again, those are some of the things that we'd be looking to update and incorporate into our new documents. And of course, along with that, as outlined there, we'll be looking to look at some other municipal units that have gone through and have some good planning, good subdivision bylaws and municipal specs, and take a look at those and have the consultant look at those as part of preparing and looking at some of those best practices in other municipalities that we can incorporate into our new documents as well. So so I think that's about it, unless anybody has any specific questions. Happy to address, but if everything looks okay and there's no comments, we'll be moving forward and looking to procure our procurement process to secure a consultant to get this work underway.
So this particular fund and this project isn't the one that's dealing with trying to tell us where the best places for development are?
No.
Okay, that's a whole other document, a whole other process there. So they'll all
Separate
get
projects.
at some point done. Anyone in the?
I just want to add about the sewer bylaw. So I see in here you're going to have them look at that as well and update it?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, so I'm not, okay. So didn't we just do a,
We just did a new sewer bylaw.
We did the infrastructure charges.
the infrastructure? So this is something
Different than the
different?
sewer bylaw.
So this is something different? Okay.
Okay, any other questions? Somebody prepared to move that we move forward with the project?
So
Second,
Second.
discussion. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Quiet here this morning.
How do you get the jail on home?
Okay. Letter from Minister Lower, coordination of emergency alert system.
Just for information.
Yeah.
I find it, if I could speak on it a little bit.
Sure you can.
I just found it so ironic when I was reading this, that he's left Remo to the bottom of the pile, and basically says that, they're gonna contact the local first responders, fire departments, and implement some kind of something that we've been talking about here at the stadium. But that's a discussion for now. I know this is just information, but I just found that ironic.
They just didn't find that some municipality did it right.
It's coming out directly with that incident that happened a week ago Thursday.
Yeah.
Unfortunate accident, and so there's a bit of a discussion, I imagine, going on between the town of Wolfville and the province. Yeah, well, we've seen it on the news.
Yeah.
Which is very unfortunate.
Whose fault is it? Yeah.
It's just unbelievable.
It's this government's typical knee-jerk, but I would say that I find it interesting because now they're opening the alert system up to fire departments, which, we've got some good ones, but that'll be at the discretion of those chiefs, and how they become chiefs that varies a lot throughout the province. And and not only fire departments, but they just say other first responders, and that vagueness is quite interesting. I don't know who those people will be, so a lot of people have access to this system now, and we may be getting a lot more alerts on our phones.
Yeah.
Got some adrenaline junkies out there, It should be interesting.
We'll be getting the questions about them, I'm sure. We won't necessarily have all the answers.
Well, no, because he's making it very clear.
Yeah.
So everybody else is responsible for issue these alerts, not the province.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, it's there, it's all I can tell you. What he had to say. Community Building Fund Agreement. Somebody speaking to that?
So this is it's just for information. So they've signed a new 10-year agreement with the federal government under the Canada Community Building Fund, which is the old gas tax. So it's just letting us know that they've signed a new gas tax agreement called the Canada Community Building Fund.
So are they any,
So it's not new money, it's money we already had, it's just
and
a new name.
it's still the criteria that they opened up a few years ago during COVID?
As far as I know,
Is
yeah.
it stays the same?
They haven't told us
They haven't told us any
okay.
different. So they've just signed a new agreement to renew that agreement with an additional plot. I guess it is new money, but it's the same program that was funded, it's just new.
Just a different name.
Renewed the funding for it, yeah.
Okay, 12.1,
There we go.
community development, oh, did I miss something? No, okay. Community development recreation, development agreement with Crescent Valley Road.
Morning, Council.
Morning, Garrett.
I think I'm in conflict here, so.
Okay. Let the record know that under the declared conflict.
All right, so what we have this morning is a request for direction in response to an application that's been received for a development agreement for a property on Valley Road, which currently would have the civic number 48 Valley Road, although that may change when the new building goes up because there previously was a building there that was assigned 48. So just for reference, it's the vacant lot on Valley Road that was previously proposed to house the hotel development that's been discussed over the last number of years.
Yeah.
So this application has come in from the current property owner, which is a Nova Scotia numbered company, whose director is Adam Michael Barrett, who is also the signatory on the application form. The zoning currently is under the central commercial zone, so this is the existing Chester Village secondary planning strategy and land use bylaw that are in place since 2004. And the central commercial zone permits residential developments of 5 to 10 units by development agreement. The proposal indicates that the current lot will be divided into 2 lots, and so each lot will house one 10-unit building, which complies with the zone. We've received sort of the application package that we normally would, including a set of drawings which are attached to this package. And again, the intent is to subdivide and create one building on each lot. So they are proposed to be 10-unit, 2-story residential apartment buildings, each apartment building housing a mixture of bachelor, 1-bedroom, and 2-bedroom suites. At this point, this is just the request for direction for staff to do a full staff analysis, policy analysis, prepare a staff report, hold a public information meeting, and then bring the file back to in this case, it would be the Village Planning Advisory Committee for a recommendation to council. So the application appears to align with existing planning policies, but of course, we haven't done the full staff analysis as to whether it meets and all the information that we would be looking for. One note that I did want to make here, just because we are obviously going through the current plan review process, when this application was initially received, it was during the period where there's sort of a freeze put in place because council had given reading to the draft documents and set up the public hearing. With the motion that I believe council has considered or will be considering this morning, that there was a motion made to defer decision, and then I believe there's going to be a decision made to send that back to staff based on our discussions last week. The result of that is that this application will be considered against the existing planning policies because we've gone back and we're going to need to hold new first reading and a new public hearing. That's just a note on process, and that will not change when first reading is given. There will be no additional policy requirements unless this application is withdrawn or substantially changes. Exactly. But if it proceeds as is, it'll go against the existing policies.
Which the hotel is doing in the first place.
Right, and actually in the case of the hotel, it was permitted as of right. It didn't even need the development agreement, so that the residential units do need the development agreement. So they'll go through a development agreement, it's just against the old policies rather than the new updated beefed up policies that we have in the new draft documents.
Well, we need staff report.
No, definitely.
Question?
Yeah.
Garth, if this particular area was an R2, because there has been some discussion about that core commercial on Valley, at least some of it be changed to R2 going forward. You maybe missed that earlier in the...
Yes, last week we discussed that, and the direction was to not change the zoning on Valley Road.
Correct, there was a public comment.
Okay.
If it was under.
Okay, so sorry, hypothetically, if direction was given to staff to change that,
If this was an R2 zone, could this application go forward?
this application will absolutely go forward,
Because it's
yes.
submitted prior to.
Yeah, because it's submitted against the existing planning documents, and right now, there is no direction from council to proceed with the drafts.
So say we didn't have an application, I think the question is if we didn't have an application now.
And we did
this
change
came in
it.
under an R2.
R2 does not allow 10 units by development agreement. Sorry, I misunderstood the question.
No, I obviously didn't make it clear.
The current application would proceed, but a similar new application would not be possible under R2. That's correct.
If it were R2, what would be the maximums?
Well, again, per the direction from council last week, R2 allows a single unit dwelling and one accessory dwelling unit per lot. Yeah, so the maximum would be 2 units. Which, if you divided the lot as is proposed here, 2 units on each lot. Yeah, 2 and 2, yeah.
We're back to the same rules. One of the reasons we're trying to move this forward was to sort of protect that zone a little bit. But we're now back. This application is under the old rules.
That's right.
Which allow the hotel as a right.
Yeah.
And this would be as a right, subject to development agreement.
Well, not as of right, it would be subject to development agreement. Yeah. Absolutely.
I'll just ask the question because somebody will want to know. There's nothing we can do to stop it. Under the current rule, then we can't just not deal with it.
That's my understanding. I've discussed it with the solicitor. Now, again, I haven't done a complete policy analysis. That'll be done as part of the staff review, but I did start that work. And there are a number of supporting policies. This change was made, bear with me, this was made, if council remembers, in response to the request from Bob Uden a number of years ago about the 10-unit building on Queen Street. That's when we made this change to allow multi-units in the central commercial zone by development agreement. So it's been in place for, there we go, February 22 was when this was changed. The central commercial zone was changed to allow 5 to 10 units by development agreement. My understanding is
we have to function under the existing rules with the existing application, and we don't have a choice.
There's policy support for this application. It's been established intentionally to allow this type of development in this zone currently. Yeah.
And I may have missed it. Currently in the draft policy and the direction from last week, as it stands moving forward, had this been considered under the draft, the new plan?
Mm-hmm.
So if we hadn't have gone back and we hadn't have went back, if this had been considered under the new plan, the new policies would have applied, and we've done some work on sort of improving those policies, beefing them up a little bit.
That's right.
But as it stands,
they don't exist at the moment.
They don't exist, and therefore we're under the current plan.
We can do a lot from one. I'm prepared to make a motion.
So what's how is this process going to take?
Typically, I mean, we typically say development agreements take 4 to 6 months. I would say we're in the 6+ month at this point, just based on staff workload. I mean, village plan review has been taking a lot of my time right along. So, but the timeline doesn't matter. It's an active application, so it'll proceed and it won't change even when the new documents are approved.
And with the development agreement, I noticed from the drawing, so there's a specific amount of parking stalls based on that, and that'll fall under whatever agreement this is.
Yeah, we would
see the parking spaces in the back.
Yeah, that's what they've proposed, is exactly to have the buildings pushed up against Valley Road and the parking back on sort of Queen and Main, because again, it's got 3 streets on 3 sides, essentially. And there's also, you can't see as well in this image, but there's a slope too, so the parking would be kind of elevated in the back and the buildings down more at street level.
So just a question, so tell me again, was it February of 2022 that council at that time introduced
amendments to the existing document? Okay. That's correct, yes.
2 years ago.
Yeah, no, again, so same council sitting here. Yeah.
12 years ago. 2.
2002, you said?
22.
22.
Oh, 20.
22,
Okay,
yeah.
sorry.
Yeah, and that was,
Yeah, no, thank you.
February, so just over 2 years
Thank you
ago.
for that reminder, Eric.
Well, we need a staff report.
Yeah, another question. So it's up to 10 under the present
Yes,
plan?
5 to 10, yeah.
So we have, with the council today, because it'll be a new council, have the authority to permit it, but with a fewer number of units. In other words, so you can go ahead with 5 units and not 10. If it's between, how's it worded now? I guess we wait for the staff report.
Yeah,
That's an
the
important-
way it's worded now is in the central commercial zone, residential developments containing 5 to 10 units are permitted by development agreement. So I would believe that council would be working against policy if they were to say less than 10 units. That would be my,
There has to be a very good reason.
I think this is pretty hypothetical. I think the staff report
might inform that, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, they can't meet the parking requirements. They
Right,
can't
or if
do
they
that.
can't, yes, exactly, those kind of things. If the sewer didn't have capacity to connect 20 units, then that would probably give us valid recourse,
If
yeah.
there was a valid reason.
Yes, yeah.
then you could just pick it up.
Right, that's right, yeah.
I'm gonna make a motion to approve option 1.
Get staff.
Direct staff to prepare staff report, draft development agreement, state the public information to advance proposed development.
Second,
Second.
discussion. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion's carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
12.2, networking direction with council. See, what's that on?
Morning, council.
Who wants to practice with this?
Well, we don't know yet. We're not sure yet.
Probably not.
Yeah.
Business retention, expansion, action. Okay, you tell us all about it.
Yeah, I'll tell you briefly about this. So back in September 2023, September 2023, council approved the business retention and expansion action plan that was put together, and it included a number of short, long, medium, midterm actions for how we can really work with our business community to recruit new businesses to the area and retain the businesses that we have currently. And one of the short-term actions that was identified was the need for more business networking events with council, where council can get to know the business community can raise their, exactly. And so one of those events that was proposed was to have a regular breakfast with the business community, and we have come forward with a proposal to get that started, and our proposal is to kick it off with the new council in November. Basically, we want to have a networking event. This would be the first one. We want to host this one in the village itself, but the idea would be to, as we move them around as we expand and make this happen. So we've done some looking for a venue. We have what we think would be a great venue for the event. We think for the initial one, we're going to do it by invitation, is our proposal, our recommendation, to cap the numbers so we can keep the budget in line and know exactly what we're dealing with. Exactly. So our proposal is to have this shortly following the upcoming election in November. We have a date picked up, but we didn't want to put that directly in the recommendation because we need to align it with things like orientation of the new council and things like that.
When you're available, all that stuff.
Yeah. So that's our proposal, but we also wanted to just make sure everybody knew and was aware that this would be making a decision for a new council, not for yourselves. Might be some of yourselves, but they would be for the new council. And I know there's been some conversation previously about making decisions that go past the election. So we wanted to make sure that you were thinking about that. Yes, exactly. So we also put some additional other recommended dates here if you preferred to do this before the election so that it could be done by yourselves. But overall, the budget for this event is anticipated to be around $1,000. We have it already in the current approved budget, so there's no additional funding required for this. It's part of an approved action plan with budget already attached, but we wanted to get your feedback and any direction that you might have around the timing and whether or not council would prefer to go forward.
I can't see any harm in sitting down with the business community and finding out what their challenges and issues are. I don't see any issue with that myself.
That's a good idea.
Excellent idea, yeah.
To move forward.
So option one?
Yeah. Somebody move it.
So move.
Second.
Discussion, all those in favor, opposed, motion carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
12.3, Corporate Strategic Management, Bloomberg County Annuation Diversity and Intermunicipal Agreement.
So this report, we are staff are looking for a motion from council to adjust the end date of the Bloomberg County Anti-Racism and Diversity Intermunicipal Agreement to September 30th. So this is a result of the sudden departure of our coordinator due to family commitments. So to account for that delay we've had in advancing the advisory committee and the work on the action plan, we're just requesting an extension to September 30th.
To give you time to sort it
Yeah.
all out.
A couple other actions too to account for the delay. We're going to initiate staff training right away. We're not going to wait until the new coordinator is hired. So we're going to plan internally for that. As well, we're going to recruit for that regional committee probably in the fall sometime with an anticipated selection by mayors and wardens in November. So the new council would do that selection of the committee members and then anticipating that committee to start meeting in January.
So so you're gonna go ahead with staff?
Training.
When you say staff, what do you mean by staff?
All internal
Training.
staff across the
So
county.
our staff here.
Our staff and the staff in the other municipal units.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And we'll initiate recruitment right away for the position.
And you just want to extend it so we have time to deal with it.
Really,
it's
extending it allows us to advertise a 2-year position instead of an 18-month position is really what we're proposing. And then this would need to be approved by all the other councils as well.
They all have, yeah.
All the others.
Somebody prepared to move that we accept the recommendation. So moved.
Second.
Discussion, all those in favor, opposed, motion is carried. There is no in-camera business, there is no additional items. A motion to adjourn. So moved. Moved, seconded, discussion, all those in favor, opposed, motion